What's happening?
Did you see that I had you on
Moses Lake?
the screen at first?
What's happening, Moses Lake? This is Rick on the Rick Sickens Show.
Sorry for the technical difficulty.
Yeah.
Producer messed up.
Yeah, Donnie's our producer. Thanks. He's kicking cancer's butt right now, so
Yes,
he's back
sir.
in action. We're going to introduce Rebecca Hutsell. We're going to talk about Airbnbs in Moses Lake, the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly.
So I was going to talk about your tiling job. How'd that go?
It's good. We're wrapping it up right now. So we did a tiling job, and this customer has two big labs, and so they were kind of fun to prep. Put the dogs outside, put them in the bedrooms as we're working.
Oh, I thought you meant like labs, like.
Labrador retrievers,
Oh, okay.
a chocolate and a black lab, and so they're busy doing that. And so we get in there and grout, and then we're coming back to look for any imperfections to touch up, and
Paw prints.
more like nail prints in the grout. Now, there's a couple of spots that we had to touch up anyway, either human air, whatever, you missed something. I mean, it's a lot of square footage.
Yeah.
But then there's like little marks in the tile, like little dogs' nails, just kind of pressing them in a little bit. So between, our touch-ups and the dogs' touch-ups, like probably another hour of work, and I'll be here talking, and they'll be there sweating. So life is good.
Hey, it's good to be the boss, right?
Yeah, it's good to be king.
And tile, just wanted to mention Brothers Automotive here in Moses Lake. The last show we did, Rick had to pick me up because my car was at the shop.
Yeah.
Brothers Automotive picked it up for me. And as soon as we got back from the show, where was my car? It was in the driveway.
Back at his house. He's like, it's done already.
It's cool. Brothers Automotive, they'll come pick up your car. They're one of the cheapest in the area. Give them a call today, 761-9744. No job too big, no job too small. Brakes, to front end work, you name it. They do engine swaps, all of it. Brothers Automotive, 761-9744. Again, Brothers Automotive, 761-9744 for all your automotive needs.
Yeah, Brothers Automotive. In my phone, his name is Dan Ninja.
Yeah, you got your truck working, right?
He did, but we did like a ninjutsu class a long time ago. So I had ninja is how I associated with him.
That's how I met you, actually, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all used to roll around on mats and get sweaty together.
Yeah, it was a beautiful time.
Anything going on with the bar? You got any events this week?
We have the traditional karaoke Friday, Saturday, cornhole tournaments on Tuesday, line dancing on Wednesday. Someone's like, do you guys do like, I don't know what it was, the tango, whatever? And I said, find me an instructor. I'm on it, so we'll see. It just depends, we have Thursdays open. So if anyone has a great event, we can entertain that.
And you have Friday and Saturday karaoke?
Yeah. In a few weeks, we have Tejano night. We do every other weekend or twice a month. They kind of push and pulls. We had a wedding. So, we're doing lots of different events and different things. You have like baby showers and.
My birthday was there.
Yeah, you had your birthday, and I did like a private karaoke birthday party, I think, for Donnie a couple of years ago.
Yeah. A lot of people came.
So it just depends. We've had corporate events happen in the back.
So if you guys are looking for some place to host an event, Rick's is a good place. It's inexpensive. Give them a call today, or stop by and take a look at it and see how it can fit your needs.
Yeah. So always something going on. Always scheming. I have lots of ideas, but it's also taking a step back and going, the stars also have to align for ideas to take off.
We tried a lot of them that it just didn't. It sounded good, but didn't end up working out.
Yeah, like doing stuff on Mondays and Tuesdays. As hard as I tried to fight that, it's a terrible idea. But like the cornhole, they naturally do it on Tuesdays. So like, that's great. That works.
Yeah.
But for me to be like, we're going to do a luau on Tuesday, epic fail. It's just you can't force it, and things have to happen naturally. So, but a little bit of business, and everybody that gets involved, you have to go through your learning curve. It's kind of a unique thing. Human nature, it's tough to predict that. But we have Rebecca Hutsell with us. concerned member of Moses Lake, always putting up the good fight. Rebecca has some opinions about Airbnbs and rental properties. So we're going to ask her some questions, or she's going to introduce herself and she's going to tell us uh, the 1, 2, 3, 4 on Airbnbs. So, how did this all start, Rebecca? You were telling me a story about some terrible Airbnb renters.
Yeah,
How did this whole thing start?
well, we discovered an Airbnb on our street just because there was a lot of traffic. I couldn't figure out what was going on, and it turned out it was unlicensed, which was interesting. And so, and then I found there was another one. So within a few months, there was two right across the street at the end of a cul-de-sac street in a residential neighborhood. And we just experienced a lot of, well, finding out they were unlicensed was, uh, didn't feel good that they decided to come in and do a business and not get licensed with the city, because then the city doesn't get any money for them. So, and then just a lot of activity. The neighbor that next door, what happens with a short-term rental is there's usually people every weekend. So if you're used to being in the residential area, a quiet residential area, all of a sudden you have an event every weekend next door to you. So the guy that lived next door to it, he said, I can't even fish anymore. There's a lot, it was on the lake, a lot of boat activity, a lot of people and stuff like that. So that's what I tried to figure out what was going on, because what short-term rentals feel like is they feel like you have a mini motel in your neighborhood. And so everything that goes with that, strangers, a lot of driving, a lot of noise. And I understand it's a business and I'm pro-business, but I just haven't had a good experience with them. I like long-term rentals, who they're going to be there for a while. There's been some cities that have gotten so many, like Chelan, that they actually got sued by the neighborhoods because they were allowing so many of them to come. So that's how I got started in it.
Very good. A quick little tangent here. We got Vic in San Diego watching us.
Okay.
Could you imagine we're reaching San Diego?
Wow.
Yeah, I used to come to Rick's, and then someone's asking about a sand pit for a volleyball. I think at the water park they have one or two.
Yeah, they do.
I would love to see more volleyball happen.
There's a bar in Spokane that has one in the back area.
We do get pretty hot in the summer, so it'd have to be like a morning activity. Otherwise, we burn our little feet here.
Right.
We don't have that cold ocean breeze, but I think volleyball would be neat. Anyway, quick tangent. So yeah, so my experience with Airbnbs is, because I have an Airbnb and I have some rentals, and it's kind of a mix. The Airbnbs don't do well in the winter here. Because I have one right next to me, and I see in the winter it's like never used, and in the summer it gets used, and sometimes they got little parties there, but it never really bothered me. Although I think you've had a few parties by your house where like 30 people are cramming in there, and so I can understand some rules or regulations to limit the occupancy or party size.
Not disturb the surrounding area.
Yeah. And, you live on the lake. So that lake, I mean, if you're coming in to rent an Airbnb, if you're here for vacation, you're more pro rent an Airbnb on the lake versus a random house in town. If you're working here in town, it doesn't really matter to them, but the vacationers, they want that. So from personal experience, my one Airbnb, the renters keep it in better condition. So I'm very pro that. At the same time, the winter months stink for renting. The summer months do well. And by the end of the day, I'm like, it does about the same as a regular rental. So if you're thinking Airbnb, unless you got some special niche, I think you're going to make the same amount of money.
So you don't change your price in the wintertime to try to...
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And you get a person here or there, but it's kind of dry.
Yeah.
They're not coming here to fish. They're not coming here, some here to work. Some, they in the summer, like they're going to the gorge. They're doing this. There's events happening.
On the lake?
Yes.
And what's your input with the neighbors? I'm just curious.
I oh, do I dare go this? So I had like an in between long term renter that worked at Group 14, and it was horrible experience for me. Um, they had trouble paying rent. They're having parties, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Right?
That was the long-term rental?
Yeah, they were there like 3, 4 months, and I like had to
Oh,
evict him. He was having trouble paying rent. There were some other addictions and things going on there that were just like, and I was like, Group 14, what a great, they're making good money. That's a great person to rent to. Well, it didn't turn out so well. So I took a loss on that. And then I decided, well, I was kind of trying to do like month to month, because my goal was to get the workers in there. And that was terrible. So then I was like, I need to rent it. So I jumped on Airbnb, I put it up, and you do a discount for long term. And then the people that stay for a month and a half, I mean, I have someone in there right now that's there for, a month and a day, and they're great, but they keep the property typically cleaner, a lot less like damage or maintenance I have versus my other properties that I rent. So like you flip a coin, and it's kind of, pick your poison, because you can think you grab a good renter, and you just
No.
don't know
yeah, you don't know.
whether it's long term or Airbnb. Now, I did have someone come at Thanksgiving, and they were hard on the hot tub. They were, some pictures were crooked, and I think there was some like dog piddle on the tile. I'm like, at least it's on tile, easy to clean up. But it was, that was like one, a 2, 3 day renter in that case. Anyway, so I was starting the sailing school, and I was like, well, maybe I'll move into that property myself and just ditch the whole Airbnb thing altogether and either rent or sell the property I'm in now. So I have this like decision to make in the next couple months to determine if I want to do that, because it'd be nice to see the lake view once in a while. So anyway, that's my perspective on it. It's kind of like pick your poison. I don't like that the city is involved in it, but I guess in some cases it's a nuisance. But even regular renters can be a nuisance. So why are they involved in one and not the other? Anyway,
Right. Yeah.
someone in Tacoma. Geez, we're getting all over it. Spokane. We're getting a good little reach here. So
I had an Airbnb, and it was before COVID, and I just did the rooms in the house that I live in,
yeah,
and I was very successful. It almost tripled my income.
and that's kind of a niche Airbnb rental, is by the room.
Yeah, and it's in town, so it's close to everybody. And the people I got were like traveling nurses and stuff like that. They wanted to be there for like 3 months, and it worked out really good.
Yeah,
I just had to make sure to keep everything clean and turn it over every time. And because I lived there, I didn't see all the wiles of it. That you would see some stranger just coming into a neighborhood and taking over a house.
So this rolled right into working with the city,
yeah.
because we got involved and the city was redoing their code
Mhm.
about, and it had to do with short-term rentals. So we went in and tried to talk to them about, they are short-staffed at the city, so they're not getting out. They're supposed to give everybody within 300 feet of a short-term rental a contact name and phone number, and it wasn't happening. And I kind of followed up on it, and it was happening. So the person that's doing that at the city, I talked to her, and she said she's busy, so they're not covering their bases to give out that basic information. Because when we ran into, if there was a problem, I didn't know who to call. You really don't know who. The city's closed on the weekends,
Yeah,
so, and things like that. So we ran into that. And so we tried to talk to the city and say, hey, can we just stop licensing these until you guys get your act together? And they wouldn't do that, because I felt like they didn't have it together. They were allowing these many motels to be in these neighborhoods with a lot of issues, and they didn't have the staff. And I feel bad. I mean, and the thing is, and then they have unlicensed ones. Well, point was, if you get all them licensed that are not paying the fees, if you get them licensed, get the fees, have more money, you can pay more staff. But it's not happening. You know what I mean? They don't even have staff to go find unlicensed one. I went out myself and did my own research, and I found 12 unlicensed ones in the city of Moses Lake, and that's a lot of money that they're not getting, that they could pay staff. And so they decided to allow this business, but they're not managing it properly. So what happens is people in the neighborhood, me or our neighbors, we're paying the price for it because they're not. It's out of control in lots of ways.
So how many parties have they had on your street that were just like, this is out of control?
Right. Well, they're down the street from me, and she's the lady that lives right next door. This is the thing about the short-term rentals. They want to party, and they want to do it on the weekend because that's when people travel. And she had a lady up in the back without a top on, you know, me and her, and she looked out. And so that happened. And this is what happens is, this is something that they're doing. I call them overstuffing. They're only supposed to have 2 people per bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And they're putting in 4 bunk beds. And the city knows this. I've told them, they know about it. It's on the website. You can look and see how many beds are in each bedroom. And so they stuff the houses with too many people. And that becomes a fire hazard. And the city was concerned about that. But so back to your question was, one guy, I guess one time he was shooting off fireworks. And the neighbor had to go talk to him about it. You know? I think what it is I think if I don't know how to fix it, because this one house that I found out that was illegal, they ended up getting licensed. They were having a problem with parking, and they were parking in front of the fire hydrants and parking in other people's for their houses, and they're not supposed to do that. So what they do is they have too many people in the house, and so the cars are too many on the street. And so, what was my point on that one? So this because they kept on parking in front of the fire hydrant, and you need to have your fire hydrant free for your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So the way their property is developed, unfortunately, they have a fire hydrant, so they lose part of that parking. You can't. They decided to put pavers on the front lawn, so they can park on the front lawn of the house.
Oh, beautiful. It must be pretty to look at.
Well, they did a good job.
If it's done right.
No, but this goes back to this house, instead of what used to be a residential house in a residential neighborhood, is now looks like it's going to have parking in the driveway, next to the driveway, and on the lawn on the other side. So it's going to look like a hotel.
Yeah.
You understand my point?
It's not very attractive.
You know, that's my problem. I mean,
I do believe there should be a balance. Like you say, like if it's 2 people per bedroom, I think it's 2 people per bedroom plus 1 for the whole house. Is that right?
Yes.
So if you've got 3 bedrooms, 6 people plus 1, that's 7 people that should be there. I get that some people want to entertain some people, but things have to be done, I guess, responsibly, so you're not disrupting the whole neighborhood as a guest. Now, there are people, I guess, for these larger ones, I don't know how many bedrooms they have, but yeah, they put the bunk beds in there, and they're like, we can have 12 people. There are groups that are looking to have places to party, and they would rather party at the Airbnb and trash that house than book, have a party at their own house.
If you were to go into a business, is to put a big building out away from everybody and have lots and basically make a motel. I mean, that's kind of what's happening, because you can't. What do you do when you have a big gathering? How do you do that? How do you get everybody in the same place?
Yeah, I mean, there are people that when they choose Airbnb, usually they are groups. They're not looking for a hotel. They want to cook food, or they want a place to sit around, socialize, and not feel like they got to be at a hotel and then leave. So it is a different demographic. But I do believe in balance. Like I'm all about having Airbnbs. I don't think they should be licensed by the city, but there is a rule that they are licensed. They should be licensed because I mean, to me, it's just a rental. You know, if I had a long-term rental or Airbnb, I was like, a rental's a rental. Why are they getting involved? They already charge property tax. You know, it's just another
It just, it,
fee or
yeah.
regulation. Um, so we may have a few differences on that, but I do agree there should, yeah, you don't need 30 people showing up having a rager, you know, parking all over the place and disrupting the flow of the rest of the properties that are there.
this is how it is, Rick. The neighbors, we have parties. We'll have a 4th of July party. We'll have a birthday party.
Mhm.
But we're not gonna have a party every weekend in our house. And that's what happens with them. There's a party every weekend.
Mhm.
So you understand? Usually you'll have a quiet weekend, 2, 3 quiet weekends, and then maybe somebody will have an event in a normal residential neighborhood, right?
Yeah, birthday party here or something
Exactly.
there, 4th of July,
but-
everybody's
But when
partying.
it's a short-term rental, every weekend's up for grabs
Yeah.
to have a party. So this lady, they've lived there for 40 years, next door, every weekend, 30
The
people.
peace and quiet's gone.
He can't fit. I mean, so what do you do about that?
Yeah.
You know, I feel bad for them. They spend a lot of money. That's a house on the lake. They've lived there for 40 years. They're older, retired. They just want to fish. You know,
Yeah. It's a tough, I guess, because you have the residential side and then you have the investor side. I think for the average person, there's not too many ways to get ahead in life, right? You work your job. I think real estate is one of the few ways to leverage your opportunity to get ahead in life. And so Airbnb becomes an option for those that are trying to, you know, expand their investment options. I mean, it's what, so, you know, right? Real estate, stock market, have a business, you know, you work for somebody, like how many different ways are there to get ahead?
I agree. I think real estate is a way.
Yeah.
I just feel like like I said, it has really caused a lot of problems. The city of Chelan got sued at least 2 times because they were allowing so many. The people were like, "This is our neighborhood. We just want to have a neighborhood." You know,
Yeah.
but it's such a popular area, and it's a way that people think I'm going to make money. You know,
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's a lot of work to it.
And if you're an investor and you want an Airbnb, you're like, I'm gonna put it on the lake, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that would be your number one choice. Number two is you find a deal in town and be like, well, this will rent to those building the hospital or these guys coming in for Boeing. You know, that would be my plan B thought. Yeah, so it's tough to make a solution. So what's the balance to please both sides?
Well,
To have business, but yet not disrupt the neighborhood.
Well, back to when they were doing the coding, we actually brought up trying to get a solution of how many can you put in a neighborhood in proximity to each other. Because right now the 2 that we got are across the street from each other. So all of a sudden it was a lot of activity right there. You know what I mean? So that was something that I thought was a good solution. Okay, all right. Yeah, like you said, try to figure out meet in
Yeah.
the middle. Okay.
If one was being quiet that weekend, the other one will be loud.
Right.
So two, I can see two.
But how many are going to even allow? Like, okay, every time a house goes for sale on our street,
Yeah.
we think someone's going to buy it and turn it into a vacation rental
Mhm.
because the city had decided. They decided they were not going to put parameters on how many can go in the proximity. And I feel like that was a really important. Do you understand how important that is? How that would give you some management or control or feeling that you still could have your neighborhood?
Yes, I see the difficulty in it as well. I think many times we buy properties or investors look at things and I could see a lot of people getting tripped up on their due diligence to be like, wait, there's already, let's say, a limit of 2 per street or, you know, whatever it is.
Okay.
And they'd be like, and you buy the third one, and they're like, well, you can't. And it's like, I didn't know. Since when did I have to ask the city to have what I can do with the rental property? So I could see that as being a possible frustration for an investor. I also know, streets and communities go through, their cycle, young families, and they go to seniors, and then things get change over time.
But don't they have some of that set up as far as it always was apartments and then residential. You see what I'm saying? How the residential was grouped together and the apartments, then it went out, and then it would be business, apartment buildings, residential is how they would develop the areas. Do you know about that? How they do it? If you look in town, you'll see they'll have a core of residential, and on the outside of that will be apartments, and then businesses. It's how they have a plan. They have kind of a plan that's how they run along. That's how they do it. So I mean, I don't know what
So they would have to zone Airbnb is like R2 then, instead of marine.
Yeah, maybe change it to the zoning a little bit. Might be a tweak that could help. I still think people will be surprised. Now, I don't think Airbnbs are booming like they were. There was like a 10-year period where Airbnbs were like on the rise, and I think they plateaued. And there's a lot of information out being like they're on their way. They're consolidating. Too many people got in, and they're not like I say in Moses Lake. If you do it, I'd say typically your winters are going to be bad, and so you got to drop your price down. And even then, you're like waiting in the winter, and then hopefully the summer makes up for it. And so unless you're here for the winter and then you want to rent out your property as you're going, anyway. So I don't. So there's part of me that thinks it's going to stabilize or be a downward trend. But we'll have to wait and see because we just don't know.
well, all we were asking for just some assurance that it wasn't going to get wackadoo and out of control. You know what I mean? I feel like that was a very reasonable thing to ask us as neighbors. Say, hey, can we just get some kind of a handle on it? And I was disappointed with the city council. I didn't feel like they were on our side at all. This town is very business, and I get it. I know that they came from when the base went out, they panicked in this town. Okay. And I think they just need to get a handle on it and appreciate business, but don't sell your soul for the business. You know what I mean? Make sure that everybody's being taken care of. The neighbors are being taken care of.
There's someone here suggesting they could do some type of lottery. You want to be an Airbnb?
Yeah, that's good.
Spin the wheel of fortune. I mean, it would have to be something. If they did make a big change, it would have to be something all the realtors knew about, so they could consult their clients. Because I could see a bunch of people fumbling on that.
As far as
buying, thinking they could do something that they can't.
Yes,
So that's my only whoa, careful. Because I would be probably one of those people being like, I've been doing this, and then you get, every once in a while, something's.
And I'm not about, I don't like a lot of government control either, but I feel like you have to, sometimes it's a have to, just to protect people, I read it to something online, and it was some kind of it's a service, short-term rentals and finances them for you. And they said that you can easily make $92,000
with
a short-term rental. $92,000.
I think if you had year-round.
I don't think that's here.
I don't think it's here because so if I rented the one property, I think I'd be lucky to get $2,500 a month if I did a long-term rental. In the summer months, I will get 3, 4, 5,000, and then the winter months you get 500 here, 1,000 there. So I mean, if you take 6 months times 5, you're like, 30,000, and then the winter months stink.
Well, this must have been a place where they could do it.
yeah, if you're doing big vacation rentals, like, oceanfront property is a different deal. They get like 10,000 a week and 20,000 a week. I mean, it's crazy what beachfront property will do. Or in a high touristy area would definitely do 90,000. Um, or I,
Like in Florida.
or I don't know what I'm doing. Like, where's my 90,000?
That's a possibility.
Where's my 90,000? Yeah. Yeah.
So we're stuck because nothing got decided. We have no protections, and we don't have protections right now. Right now,
Yeah.
anybody buys a house in their neighborhood can make it into a vacation rental.
And that quiet neighborhood turns into just a mess.
Yeah.
See that?
On the weekends, I could see that, especially if you have two or three because not every renter is partying on the weekends, but if you have two or three, well, one of them is partying every weekend, being loud. That part's for sure. I mean, there are some chill people that just
I get
chill.
it. And like I said, that's why if you decided in a 20 house area, do a percentage. Allowed two, and that's it. I mean, that would you get that, so you would not have so much of them. So
Let's see, hold other people accountable for their actions. And I think, like you say, if they're breaking noise ordinances or over occupying a property, if you complained about it, what would happen?
I actually told the city,
Yeah.
and there's the one on our street that I think that was the one, has 4 bunk beds in 1 bedroom. And the code is you have to have 2 people in 1 bedroom. I don't care how many beds you put in there. The code is 2 people for each bedroom. You see?
Yeah.
And I let them know, and nothing happened.
Did you file any noise complaints at all, though?
I haven't done noise complaints. I did have to. We had some cars, they would speed down the street, and I had to call the police a couple times. And then this phone number, contact and phone number that everyone's supposed to have on the neighborhood, I actually called it, and then you don't get a response from it.
Yeah.
So you feel like, and the city's closed. You can't call the city.
You can't just call and say, "Hey, there's a shooting at this address.
Right. Yeah.
I see blood," and they'll show up.
It's just I don't know why. I don't know why it was just left like that. I don't understand why it couldn't be taken care of. But
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's
so it puts a bad taste in your mouth for short-term rentals when this is the response you get from trying to say, "Hey, this is what's happening. Let's try this," and then
yeah. And what is the right answer? How do you create balance? I mean, ultimately, the property owner is responsible. Like, if a tenant doesn't pay his water bill, it falls on me, the owner, to make up for it. So I think that somehow the property owners, I guess, have to be responsible, have clear rules. And Airbnb has a lot of information on there. And when they rent, if they're honest, they click how many people are coming. I charge like, $15 per person that they add, because it just adds to sheets cleaning and washing. And that pretty much goes to the maintenance at the end, the cleanup, to help cover some of those things. But there are people that they'll be like, "It's just me by myself," and they bring a bunch of people, and I'll be like, "Hey."
Were you aware of the limits on how many people are supposed to be in?
I knew that because I had talked to you previously. So I was aware, I think because you told me it's 2 people a bedroom plus 1 for the whole house. So if it was 2 parents and a baby, they could be in a room. So
the fire department, when I brought up that they were putting too many people in the house, they really were concerned and talking about there should be fire suppression. Once you get to a number of people, it gets to be a safety issue.
Yeah, I can see that. I also noticed they cook less. So it's that balance, like, is are they increasing fire hazards or not?
But it's just the number of people, I think, because
Yeah, new
a
Airbnbs
hotel
being
has to
built.
have a fire suppression
Yeah.
because of the number of people. They're not even cooking in their rooms, but they have to do it because of the people.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Okay.
No, that's a good.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think if you're building a brand new Airbnb or something, I think you have to put a fire sprinkler system in it.
Oh, do you?
I think there was a thing going around like that, and I was like, whoa. And that would definitely curb the Airbnbs, because who wants to spend
It's a lot of money.
yeah, that's like, oh, I don't want to spend extra 40,000 to put one of those in.
Yeah, because there's somebody built one specifically as a short-term rental down on the peninsula, and it's actually a two-story house, might be three, and I'd be curious to see if they had put in a.
I think they did, and I think when they built it, the sprinkler system leaked, and it was like a nightmare to fix that too. I'm not a huge fan of fire sprinkler systems because usually by the time the fire is that hot and the sprinklers kick on, you're probably already a crispy critter. It doesn't save lives. It's not designed to save lives. Like, no one's at fault if this fire sprinkler system kicks on and someone's a crispy critter. The smoke detection is the first alarm and will go off, minutes before
Carbon monoxide
sprinklers go down. So anyway, it's just codes and different things that happen. But yeah, the smoke detection will get you out of the house way faster than a sprinkler system will. And if you're at the source of the incident, yeah, and loss of life happens, it's not the sprinkler system's fault. It was just so hot that it finally went off, and you were just wrong place, wrong time. So I don't know. I think for me, I'm not a huge fan of the sprinkler thing. I think it's an extra cost. I mean, fires have gone down a lot just from electrical code and other things being upgraded with time, have really reduced, I think, most of
the smoke detectors. They have to be on every break. That if there's a door, it's called a break.
Yeah. You
have to have one on this side, and you have to have one on that side of that.
Yeah. There's one in the bedroom, one in the hallway. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't put one right in the kitchen. Go off and never stop. You want to kind of away from the kitchen. You sneeze and it'll go off. It's crazy.
Well, Rick, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I know we have some slight differences of opinion, but you have a right to say your piece and say, hey, there is a problem with Airbnbs being overused or overcrowded and being extra noisy. And if they would stay within certain parameters, then half of your concern is gone. Maybe there still could be a parking concern, but it's interesting. You're like, huh?
Because see, they try to modify houses to make them to have more people, and that's when you ran into the car problem, and that's when they had to start putting a parking lot. I just, that's the thing is when you try to make something into something else. That's why hotels work so well. They have big parking lots, and lots of people can go there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we got a guest. James Baker's like, can I stop by? I don't know if we can get in. We're in the podcast, but I can talk to you later.
What does he want to talk about this?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about, James? So James Baker is a big potato farmer in town. So he's a spud farmer. Lots and lots of potatoes.
Well, I'm just trying to stick up for my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm trying to protect the quality of the neighborhood that I live in. I mean, and I'm not saying they're not bad people, the short-term people that rent. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't know if it fits or if it has to have some management on it about how many. Rick, it is concerning. There's houses for sale on my street, and I feel like if they get sold, and everybody's saying this, is it going to be another vacation rental because we live on the lake?
Yeah. Are they going to squeeze you out?
Yeah.
When you look at your home? Do you ever consider selling because Airbnbs, like all this stuff's going on? You're like, maybe I should sell and move somewhere else.
I thought of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if it changes from being a residential neighborhood, I don't want to live there. That's why we bought there, because we wanted to be in a residential neighborhood.
Yeah.
If I wanted to be by a motel, I would go buy a house next to a motel.
That's a good picture to paint. There you go. All right.
So,
Well, we can wrap this episode up. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your views. I think there's a lot of people that probably resonate with you that are like, you know, you know what? I work a lot on the weekends, and so and I'm working nights here at Rick's. So if my neighbors were being loud and noisy, I miss it. Like every once in a while they'll do something, but it never has bothered me. But I'm here on the weekends, so if they were being, yeah, you see what I mean. So maybe some of my perspective might be limited with my neighbor being Airbnb, but it's still,
but you said you had a problem with one ears.
one of my renters is month to month, and he was there 4 months, maybe 5, and yeah, he was throwing parties and doing whatever. So it doesn't always matter if it's short term or long term. There are differences, but if someone's being a little obnoxious, out of control, the neighbors are calling me and say, "This guy is out of
So
control."
did you get neighbor calls?
Yeah, well, one of them had like a broken, his car wasn't running right, and so his muffler wasn't right. Anyway, and so when he went to work in the morning and fired that thing up at 5 in the morning, and it sounded like Hell's Angels in the neighborhood, and then people zipping by, and you go talk to them, they're like, "Oh, that's not us," and they're like, "Yeah, that's his car right there." Like, "Hey, why don't you slow it down and fix your car?" So some things, and I think he eventually did fix his car, but there's always something that can happen. But yeah, some neighbors did call me and were very concerned um, with what was going on, and so then I could address it. But fortunately, I'm in Moses Lake, and so if you call me, I can show up and be like, "What's going on?" and then try to get everyone to talk it out. And
have you given your neighbors? Do your neighbors have your phone number?
I don't know if they have my phone number per se, but they know how to find me.
Well, so
because they know I'm here.
But that's
when I drive by, they're like, "Hey, Rick, stop in," So.
But that is one thing the city says needs to be done within 300 feet. All back, front, side. Every neighbor needs to have your phone number and your name. So if there's a problem, they have someone to call.
Yeah. So I know 3 of the neighbors. They know me pretty well, but yeah, I mean, they all talk. And if I have one that's a pain, and then I also have a second property on that's a long-term rental, and he also will let me know if anyone's out of control too. So I guess I do have someone eyes on 24/7, and he'll be like, "Whoa," and he'll give me a review of them. So I guess I have more eyes on probably than most people do. Doesn't mean my customers are better or worse. It's just what is. So I have 4 people, one eyes on 24/7, and then neighbors that can call me.
No, it sounds like you have a handle on it. People know that you own that property.
Yeah, but still things get away from me. I don't have a Ring camera on the door because I want people to have their privacy. But if I did, I could be like, "Wait, they said one person and 10 people showed up." I'm not being nosy in their business like that, but that could happen. And I wouldn't know about it until someone would call me or I do a drive-by. But unless I have a reason to drive by, I try to give people their space and privacy, but I do have the neighbor guy, and it's on the Airbnb. I go, "This guy's there. He'll be mowing the lawn and doing maintenance and whatever, don't be alarmed if somebody's out there, doing stuff." So anyway, we'll wrap this up. I like Donnie's method. If any of those in hard financial times and you got an extra room in your house, you could Airbnb a room. I know it's not for everyone because you do lose some privacy, but I grew up in a house where my mother, bless her heart, had a daycare. So there's a bunch of people in my house growing up. And then there were kids that would nap in my bedroom. And I'd come home from water polo practice and there'd be some kidnapping. She's like, don't go in your room. And I said, this is my freshman year. And I was like, I'm moving into the garage. And my mom's like, okay. So I moved in the garage. And then that baby either grew up or another kid came into the daycare and she didn't need that room. And then she rented it out. I couldn't move back in the house if I tried. Sisters would go to college. Those rooms were getting rented out. So my younger brother and I, all 4 years of high school, we lived in a garage, 2x4 walls, no insulation, washer dryer, gas water heater. We were just breathing in carbon monoxide, and I'm still here.
That does explain a lot, though.
Yeah, some of the why you have some mental problems, Rick? That's why I grew up in a garage, you know. But that, I mean, that was life. We made it exciting. We got carpet couches. That was our pad. We made it cool. We had electric blankets in the winter to stay warm. But getting up, putting the feet on the cold concrete in the morning as you get to the alarm clock, that was cold. That's cold. Very good, folks. All right. We're going to shut this down. Thanks, Rebecca, for your views on Airbnbs. Thanks for watching, folks. Signing out. Thanks, Donnie, for the tech stuff.